Hey, this is Siofra's Magic Alcove, and I'm Siofra Bradigan. So today I thought I would talk about the differences between an evocation and an invocation and sort of how that works a little bit. Simplified definition is an invocation is something that you are pulling into yourself, which is how do you remember it, that it's inside you. An evocation is something that you're trying to pull toward your space but outside of you. So you're not becoming a part of it. It's like a separate thing from who you are. And in ritual, all the ritual ceremonies and that we do, we have combinations of evocations and invocations. It is probably the most misread word or misused word out there when it comes to magic and ritual. People will use one word for the other word and not care one word or the other. And if you know what it is that you're doing, it's true that is not as important. But if you're trying to explain that to someone else, then precision in communication and language is vital. Because that way, if you all have the same definition for the word, you know that you're talking about the same thing, and you don't have to spend all this time and energy trying to translate what that is. So I've brought in a collection of some of our rituals throughout the year, and the elemental evocations that we've done, and some of the god and goddess invocations that we've done, as concrete examples, because it's the best way of explaining the process and what it is. So that one we'll save for later. We're going to do the elemental stuff first. So put that down there. So we're starting with the beginning of the Witch's New Year, which is Samhain or Halloween. It's pronounced Samhain even though it doesn't look anything like that. It looks like Samhain. But hey, if no one's ever said the word out loud, how would you know that, right? So when you're setting up your environment for the ritual that you're about to do, and you're calling in the energy of the elements, you change the words that you use depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, because the elements have a wide range of attributes and focuses and energies and stuff like that. So that's why we'll probably just stick with the air element so that we don't get bogged down in, all of the elements here. But it'll give you an idea of how you can shift the energy around using an elemental call. And the idea of the elemental call is to evoke the energy of that element and provide you with some kind of a energetic backdrop for what you're about to do. Sort of add to the flavor of the ritual that you're doing, would be one way of putting it. So in this particular version of our Samhain ritual, we start off with, I associate the east with air. So if you don't, that's fine. But this is about the element anyway. So this one goes, Hail, guardians of the airy east, as bearers of knowledge and learning. We evoke you and call upon you, breath of our mother, with sword and censer, witness and protect our woven circle. Come be with us now. So that's one version of that. We have other Samhain rituals where we have a slightly different focus. But that's like, gives you an idea of what you're bringing in. So going on to Yule, again with the east and the air. Spirits of the east, powers of air, come into our circle and be present with us now. Let your breeze blow through us, cleansing our minds and spirits. Bring us your clarity and aid us in our concentration. We ask that you join us this night and guard our circle with your might. Let our minds rise up with you and help us to welcome new thoughts and ideas and prepare us for the return of the sun. Hail and welcome. So again, this is about the time of year. This is the winter solstice, when it's the longest night and the sun is going to be gaining ascendancy. And so we've asked that particular element to do one of the things that it's good at, cleansing our minds and spirits and helping us to focus and concentrate and bring us those new beginnings. That's another evocation. All of these for the elemental calls are evocations. So, Emulk, which is February, and that would be Bridget's fire holiday. Let me take that out so I can read it. So here again is East Air. Powers of the East, spirits of air, come into our circle and be with us now. Hail, Lord Peralda, head of the elemental kingdom of air. Thou art enormous and powerful, standing in your flowing robes of yellow and brandishing a sword. We call upon you to join us in our celebration of light. Lend us the griffin's strength and wisdom to aid us in our healing rites this festive night. Flow through us warmly and gift us with intuitive sight. On the wings of your winds we welcome you. Hail and welcome. So this one is a little more complex as far as an elemental call goes. In this one we're starting to use some of the ancient names of the heads of that element. Lord Peralda being the one of the words that's associated with in charge of the air. And I know we've covered this before, but it always bears repeating. The names like Peralda and Jin and Nexa and Gob are basically titles. In fact, a lot of goddess names and god names are the same. They're also titles. And so there's not just one Lord Peralda out there. It's kind of like a job description and a title of what you're doing. So when you're calling upon the heads of the elemental kingdoms, what you're doing is calling upon whatever spirit is available to be the head of that element when you're doing it. And in this one, our personal temple, we associate the griffin is our sort of sacred animal for the air, for the east. And so we started incorporating that into our rituals. Things, change slightly over the years, and we have fun rewriting things. They become basic, but then you can kind of elaborate. So then on to the next ritual, which would be the spring equinox, which is when things are equal as far as the light and the dark. So we changed our evocation to do that. So in this one we've got Hail, guardians of the east, cleansing element of air, soft and whispering winds from afar, greetings be unto thee. In the names of the old gods, blow clear and fresh and free, in magical presence here. We call upon you to bring us your wisdom as we celebrate this first day of spring. Hail and welcome. So again, as you can see, as the year progresses, our interaction with the elements transform, and we sort of call on different aspects of the element. So then the next is Beltane, May Day, which is a very free and opening, celebratory kind of experience. And we kept our elemental calls in this one fairly short because it's one of our public rituals. And we don't know how much experience people have when it comes to focusing on that kind of thing. So we went with spirits of the east and air, hearken to this Beltane call. Bring winds of magic, breath of spring, let our lives with music sing. Hail and welcome. So there again, you've got a different aspect of the air element, the voice, and this, bringing our lives with song and celebration and that kind of thing. So then Litha, which is the summer solstice, where the sun is about ready to start to go away. We have powers of the east, spirits of air, come to our circle, bring to us illumination and new beginnings, focus and concentration. Be with us now. Witness this our right. Watch over us and protect us as we celebrate this day. Hail and welcome. So a little bit more generic. Again, the summer rituals were more public types of things. So in some of them we definitely wanted to be less obvious. And then Lunasa, or Lammas, the beginning of August, is one of the harvest festivals for the god. Apparently we did a lot of stuff before we actually got to our elements kind of thing, because we had a sacred fire and we did all that stuff first. So again, with the air, we've got guardians of the east, spirits of air, come into our circle and witness our right. Hear me now as I request your aid in the cycle of life, as your winds blow through fields of ripened grain, carry loosened seeds upon your back, that they may fall amidst the soil that is our Mother Earth. Hail and welcome. And we went along the same lines with all the elements in this one, the idea of taking those seeds and spreading them so that next year we have life coming back and renewing itself. And then Mabon, which is the other equinox in the fall, and again things are equal, day and night. So here we have, I think almost identical to the one that we used for the other equinox. Hail, powers of the east and spirits of air, we invite you to be with us on this day when light and dark are equal. As we feel your breath swirl around and protect us, we ask that you give us insight. We bid thee come into our circle and be with us now. Hail and welcome. And that brings us back to Samhain, and the cycle begins anew. So, it's a way of showing some of those similarities as well as differences in an evocation, with the focus of bringing in an elemental energy and all the other stuff that comes with that. The invocations that we do are usually the god and the goddess, because if you're invoking something inside of yourself, you don't want to just invoke anything. You want to be specific and precise. And there are different ways of looking at that and of doing that. Some more complicated than others. So the most complete type of invocation is what they call the fourfold based invocation. And in the first part of the invocation, you, as the person who's wanting to call on the god or the goddess, are stating your purpose. You're calling to the name of the deity or the energy that you're trying to bring into yourself, and saying, hey, you out there, you're the one I want to talk to, you're the one I want to be with, and do some explanation about who it is that you're trying to get in touch with. In the second part, you become the deity and respond to yourself, the aspirant, or and you say, hey, I hear you calling me, what's up? Then, as the person who's trying to do an invocation, you again, you want to get into that right headspace. So you talk about feeling the presence of the energy approaching you, and then in the full end of the invocation, you become the voice of and the energy of the deity that you are invoking. And there's different exercises that you can do to practice this idea of allowing yourself to become one with an energy force that's coming from out there. One of them is to visualize it behind you and to sort of feel its energy. And then when you can really feel it there, stepping back into it and allowing it to be part of you. And in the beginning, it can be confusing and not always successful because you're dealing with, your own mental images of things, what it should be like versus what it actually is like. And a lot of times they are not the same thing at all. So some of the invocations, they can be simplified. You don't have to actually do an invocation for the god and the goddess. You can do an evocation as well and just say, we ask that the god and the goddess make their presence here and, watch over us while we do our work and be with us, kind of thing. So it's more of an invite to a spectatorship on their part. But if you're going to invoke it, there's different methods for the invoking. One of them is like the call and response type of thing, which we have several examples, where the person who's trying to pull in the deity says what they're looking for and everyone else in the room repeats what they say. We have a couple of examples of those in here. And that can be powerful if you have a large group in particular, because then you have all these voices repeating everything that you say, and so after you say it, and that kind of makes it more impactful, it sort of settles it into your brain. So as it continues on, and those are usually fairly long call and response, call and response, call and response, it's sort of a way of getting yourself into sort of like a trance-like state, and begin that process of letting go of ordinary, regular reality. So you're not going to have interference from your conscious mind. And ritual is like that. It's the reason ritual works for people is because the subconscious deals in images, and it doesn't deal with the words. The words are there just to allow the images to form and for you to become involved in the images. They're not as important as the feeling itself. And ritual is definitely the language of the subconscious, just like dreams. It's the visual, the imagination that allows you to experience things that are beyond your ordinary everyday life and reality. And like everything else, being balanced is important. So an example of, say, a complex one would be the drawing down the moon, which is probably the most, in my opinion, difficult thing to accomplish well when it comes to doing ritual. And that the high priest or high priestess, usually the high priestess, is going to become the embodiment of the lunar deity and goddess, and then talk to the people that are in her group. And I know for myself, doing that, it takes a lot of trust on the part of the person who's doing it, becoming the goddess, in the people that are there with her. Because you have to give it room to allow it to happen. And you can find this one online. It's one of the standard ones. But the idea of this is that everybody is really focused and thinking about it. And in the beginning, the first thing that happens is the priest who's going to be doing the invoking, or I guess in his case, the evoking into the priestess who's doing the invoking, has to be in the right frame of mind, in the right space, and sort of become the god himself in order to draw this power down. And so it's not a one-person thing, not this version anyway. And so, like, here's an example of an invocation to the god as a general god form, not a specific one. O horned one, by the flame that burneth bright, we call thy name into the night. Thee we invoke by the moonled sea, by the standing stone and the twisted tree. Thee we invoke where gather thine own, by the nameless shrine, forgotten and lone. Come where the round of the dance is trod, horn and hoof of the goat-foot god. By moonlit meadow on dusky hill, when the haunted wood is hushed and still, come to the charm of the chanted prayer, as the moon bewitches the midnight air. Evoke thy powers that potent bide in shining stream and the secret tide, in fiery flame by starlight pale, in shadowy host that rides the gale, and by the fern brakes fairy haunted, of forests wild and woods enchanted. Come, come, to the heartbeat's drum. Come to us who gather below, when the broad white moon is climbing slow. Through the stars to the heavens' height, we hear thy hoofs on the wind of night. As black tree branches shake and sigh, by joy and terror we know thee nigh. We speak the spell thy power unlocks, at solstice, Sabbath, and equinox. And then at this point, the person is becoming the god. I am the radiant King of the heavens, flooding the earth with warmth and encouraging the hidden seed of creation to burst forth into manifestation. I lift my shining spear to light the lives of all beings, and daily pour forth my golden rays upon the earth, putting to flight the powers of darkness. I am the spirit of all beasts, wild and free. I run with the stag and soar as a sacred falcon against the shimmering sky. The ancient woods and wild places emanate my powers. The birds of the air sing of my sanctity. I am the harvest, offering up grain and fruits. Beneath the sickle of time, so that all may be nourished. For without planting there can be no harvest, without winter there can be no spring. I am the thousand-named Son of Creation. Know that by all names I am the same. The spirit of the horned stag in the wild, the endless harvest. See in the yearly cycle of festivals my birth, death, and rebirth, and know that such is the destiny of all creation. I am the spark of light, life, the radiant sun, the giver of peace and rest. I send my rays of blessings to warm the hearts and strengthen the minds of all. And so you can imagine, if you are the one who's going to be the god, and you read this with full attention, how that the words themselves can help to transform your inner reality and your energy to create that potential to be a vessel for that kind of focus and energy. And that's what the words are for. The words aren't the important part in the sense that you can do them without words. But again, it helps to take our mind to a place where we need to be able to accomplish this and have an actual intimate encounter with an energy that is outside of us that we can bring inside of us and experience. So, there are so many different types of invocations to both the god and the goddess, but that is like the basis of that. And with the goddess, of course, all of her types of things are different depending on who she is. I did a lot of looking online and finding things that made sense to me at the time when I used them. And a lot of times, even if I've got a different invocation in mind, I like to finish it off with the Star Goddess invocation, because that's Doreen Valiente was just a wonderful poet. There's no getting around it. And she did a lot of marvelous things. Of course, this one I think didn't start with her. I have to do my research to remember that. But, so I'm leaving you with this to think about. Hear the words of the Star Goddess, the dust of whose feet are the hosts of heaven, whose body encircles the universe. I am the beauty of the green earth and the white moon among the stars, and the mystery of the waters and the desire of human hearts. I call upon your soul to arise and come unto me, for I am the soul of nature that gives life to the universe. From me all things proceed, and unto me all things must return. Before my face, beloved of all, Let your divine innermost soul be enfolded in the rapture of the infinite. Let my worship be in the heart that rejoices, for behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals. Therefore let there be beauty and strength, power and compassion, honor and humility, mirth and reverence among you. And you who think to seek me, know that your seeking and yearning will avail you not, unless you know the mystery, that if that which you seek you find not within you, you will never find it without. For behold, I have been with you from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire. So, to fully immerse yourself in the words and in the feelings is what an invocation is all about. And I can give you more examples, of course, and we'll probably do that at another time when we talk about an individual ritual or what have you. But that's probably enough for one video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And if you have any suggestions, suggest things, and I'll come up with something to see if I can help. So this is Siofra Bradigan, and this has been Siofra's Magic Alcove. Blessed be.